In this video, we're going to run through 10 qualities that make for a great open wheel racing driver. Definitely make sure you watch all 10 of these and focus on each one individually so that you can accelerate your learning and development. So stay tuned. For those of you new to my channel, my name is Martin and I help open wheel drivers, formula drivers, or anyone driving with significant downforce continue to move forward away from the racetrack. That's me and that's what I do. You can visit www.lowerlaptime.com to find out more. In this video, we're going to talk about the 10 things that I've put together that make for a great open wheel formula racing driver. This is very, very important. Every great open wheel racing driver is going to have these qualities and be focusing on these things throughout their career. So it's important that you're aware of them now if you're at the early stages of your career. So let's jump straight into it. Okay, number one, we've got mentality and mindset. So the mental side of the sport, it's absolutely huge. And we're going to go into mentality and mindset independently. Mentality, when I say that word, Ayrton Senna comes to mind and Max Verstappen comes to mind as well. Mentality, like a winner's mentality, a champion's mentality, an engineer's mentality, a professional's mentality. These are approaches and methodologies that you're going to take in order to get the results that you want out on track. A winner's mentality includes focus, concentration, commitment, consistency, discipline. With mentality comes mindset, and mindset really is your approach to a racing weekend. Do you want to go out there and get information and learn and adapt and make changes? Or do you want to go out there and go fast straight away? Or do you want to go out there and try a new front wing? Do you want to try a new compound of tire? Do you want to practice a new racing line? Do you want to practice a new setup? Okay, so mentality is what we speak about as the winner's mentality and champion's mentality, and that's the focus. Mindset is what's your goal when you go out onto a practice session? What's your goal when you're learning a new track from scratch? What's your goal when you jump in a new car for the season? Okay, that's your mindset. So your mindset is related to your goals and objectives when you go out on track. It's very important that both of those work hand in hand together, okay? Number two, prioritizing the race setup. This is extremely important because not many people consider the race setup to be that important. But when it comes to fuel management, tire management, reducing sliding, not overheating brakes, not overheating engines, running the right downforce level, even gearing the car a certain way for the race, setting up suspension because when the fuel is in the car behaves slightly differently. Okay, so the race setup is extremely important. If you had to prioritize ultimate speed or consistency in the race setup, you should always go for consistency in the race setup, unless of course we're talking about Monaco. But a lot of great drivers, they prioritize race setup with particular attention on the tires. How are the tires behaving? How are they performing? How are their temperatures? What's their wear like? And so on. Number three, adaptability. A good driver can adapt to changing conditions, changing cars, changing tracks, difficult conditions, with sleep, without sleep, with information, without information, with a good setup, with a bad setup, with a good team, with a bad team, with information from a teammate and without information from a teammate, okay? A good driver will adapt and find a way, okay? So all of the great drivers, like you think of Senna, you think of Schumacher, and you think of Hamilton, all drove cars that were not that good to great heights, even Fernando Alonso in there as well. So being able to adapt to the car, whether it suits your technique or doesn't suit your technique, or it's just a plain bad car, good drivers will adapt and find a way. How they do this is very, very unique. And I can give you one tip here is that they drive short corners. And I'm going to give you a quick visual illustration of what a short corner is now. And I'll show you how that's going to help you if you have a car that's not performing that well. So let's head over to the whiteboard and we'll have a look. Okay, so here we're just going to draw a long corner of constant radius, okay? It just looks like a rainbow. And you could think, for example, of Hungary, the final turn leading onto the pitch straight. You've got the start-finish straight down here. This is the pitch straight, and this is the final corner here. Now, if you've got not a great car with not great mid-corner grip, a lot of understeer, or it doesn't want to rotate, or it doesn't want to put traction down, whatever the issue is, driving a short corner can be really helpful, okay? So I'm going to illustrate to you the normal geometric conventional racing line. We'll do that in red. And that would be that you just sweep in, take the apex and sweep out. Fairly normal conventional stuff. The problem here is you've got a lot of cornering time and cornering distance. And what happens here is if you have a handling issue in the car, you're very exposed to that issue every time you're doing some cornering. So if I just highlight here how much cornering is actually being done, you can see that it's just that dark red region up there, and you're exposed to this handling issue through that whole region. Now, short corners mean that you don't do this. You spend less time and distance cornering, okay? So you come in a little bit deeper, a little bit later out here, and then boom, you just V the car and send it on its way. So it's a really quick rotation point up here. You're not going to be exposed to that understeer as you just gently turn and bring the car in. And then when the speed is out of the car, this big rotation happens quickly. You get the car rotated, and now you're on throttle earlier than the red line as well. So you have a lower minimum speed at this point here, but you're faster in and you're faster out. And that's how you can use short corners to drive around handling issues. Number 4, great drivers have exceptional tire management in a race, and they drive tight lines in order to protect their front tires, okay? We're going to head over to the whiteboard, and I'm going to show you what a tight line is and why it protects your front tires. All right, here we are on the whiteboard again, and we're going to draw Stowe Corner in Silverstone. So if you're not familiar with Stowe, firstly, it's got a great track width across here as you approach the corner. So it's a perfect candidate for one that you can drive tight lines on. And it basically comes in and goes away like that. And it's a big, fast, sweeping corner down the end of the Hanger Straight. Okay, so that is Stowe Corner. You got a curb over here. Now in qualifying, the fastest way through this corner is that you stay all the way on the left here, enter, and carry the most speed through this corner. But you're putting a lot of load when you do that through the left front tire, this one here. And you can imagine that lap on lap on lap over the race distance, you're driving extra meters through this corner in order to carry that extra speed in. And so what I'm saying here is that great drivers will drive tight lines. A tight line driver will essentially set their car up with a lot of front grip and then come in and do that. And what they've avoided here is all of this cornering that doesn't need to be done. So the car is fairly straight here, and they only start cornering from this point onwards. This is called a tight line. And if you set your car up, as I say, with a lot of front grip, you just drive less meters lap on lap on lap. It's particularly helpful in places that have S's. So we're talking Austin, we're talking Japan, we're talking Silverstone here again as well, and tracks that are wide. So Malaysia as well. And you get this opportunity to be able to drive a tight line into the corner. Again, I'd probably only recommend it in races. And if you set the car up with a lot of front grip, you can drive less meters than your opponents and ultimately look after your front tires. So there's a tip for you. Number 5, emotional control. A lot of professional sportsmen in general, not even racing drivers, have fantastic emotional control. They don't get too excited when things go well. They don't get too sad when things go bad. Before qualifying, they're calm, they're composed, they're ready. Before a big race or a big event, they've done all of the preparation. They trust themselves, they trust their team, they trust their work, and they're cool as a cucumber. Think of it like fire and ice. You've got the fire inside that you want to win and you want to do well and you're focused, but the ice is there that you're going to remain calm under pressure. You're going to analyze situations well, think clearly, and maintain good, fresh mental capacity. Okay, so emotions are going to clutter you. You're going to think with either anger or think with fear or think with hope or think with emotion. And it's not great to have any of those in your head when you're competing. Okay, you want to think logically, you want to think rationally, and you want a nice, clear mind to do that. So emotional control is extremely important. All of the top professional sportsmen, let alone drivers, do this extremely well. But it's also very important in racing because the pressure that we're under, the pressure for qualifying, the pressure to get a good start, to get a good pit stop, and all of those sort of things. Okay, so the pressure is there. Put it to one side, have good emotional control, be stoic enough to take care of it. And I guarantee you number 5 is going to help you. Number 6, your technique in technical corners. I have a whole course on my website dedicated to technical corners. A lot of people, when I say technical corners, are like, what's a technical corner? So if you look at Stowe Corner, the one we drew on the whiteboard before, it's just a right-hander. It's not characterized by anything, right? But if you look at a chicane, for example, it's characterized by its curbs. So great drivers take technical corners extremely well, and they know the technique to apply in technical corners as well. Again, as I say, I've got 7 technical corners on my website. You should check it out and familiarize yourself with the technical corners, but they execute great technique in these technical corners. Okay, so make sure you check that out and become a master of technical corners, because you're going to be coming across them throughout your career. If we look at Japan, for example, you've got S's, you've got chicanes, double apex corners, you've got a hairpin in there as well. Okay, so if you know about technical corners, you'll be able to apply these techniques in technical tracks like Suzuka in Japan and outperform your opponents because you're aware of technical corners and the right technique to get through them. Number 7, great drivers have this ability to predict the grip level before they get to the corner. A lot of the great drivers, like Senna, for example, and Max as well, are making predictions about how much grip they think they're going to get before they get to the corner, and it allows them to anticipate for that. This is particularly helpful in one-lap qualifying when you just don't know, you haven't been around, you've only got 1 lap to qualify. Race start on a full tank of fuel in the wet when it starts raining, and when it starts drying out and you put slick tires on as well. So all of these dynamic changeable conditions, great drivers will predict the grip that they're going to get before they get to the corner. And they know this based on experience, and they know this based on temperatures and conditions and track surface, and they have this feel for how late they can brake and how aggressive they can get on the throttle into these corners when it's unknown and you're going through there for the first time, okay? So when you're going through there for a first time, a great driver will predict that grip and they'll just outperform you on that lap until you actually go through those corners and are aware then of how much grip there is. Only then can you potentially match a great driver. Okay, so have a think about that one. It's extremely complex and very difficult to do, but being able to predict how much grip is going to be in the corner before you arrive is very helpful. Okay, so that's number 7. Number 8, you're comfortable driving on the limit. In my live stream recently, I was talking about driving on the limit. I think of it as like I'm also predicting what the car is going to do next, and I'm comfortable driving on the limit because I know what the car is going to do next. So it comes back to that prediction thing as well. It's just that you've been through this situation before. Whereas number 7, you're predicting something where you haven't been through this situation before. So in qualifying, for example, you're going to get 3 or 4 runs across 20 minutes, 3 sets of soft tires, 4 sets of soft tires. You have enough information to be able to predict what the car is going to do at that point in time, every time you go through that corner, okay? So you're more aware about how you can drive on the limit because you've been paying attention in the first run and the second run in the third run, okay? You know that if you brake too hard, you're going to lock up that inside front left because that's what you did the lap before. You know that you can get on the throttle a little bit earlier, or you left a little bit of room there at turn 2. Okay, so driving on the limit is really being aware and being able to predict what the car is going to do next based on your experience in prior runs. Cool. So the great drivers will do this well, and they'll do a good first run, a good second run, and a great third run where they put the best of both worlds all together because they've been through it, they predict what the car's going to do, and they can drive on the limit. Number 9, a great understanding of race strategy. You might not think this is important because your team are going to take care of this, but it's not true. You as the driver are the only one that really knows the condition of the tires and how you feel the grip to be, and if you really feel that you need to pit, and how easy it is to overtake or how hard it is to overtake, and what makes sense for you instinctively, okay? So great drivers will have an understanding of race strategy and often be able to overrule their team when they call them in for a pit stop or select a different type of tire at the race start, or when we talk about sprint races, etc. So Carlos Sainz does this exceptionally well, and he's able to have a great understanding of the race strategy, and he doesn't really need the team to determine that for him. Fernando Alonso also does this exceptionally well as well. He has a great understanding of what's happening in the race and has a great understanding of race strategy. Jenson Button used to do this as well, exceptionally well. In any safety car or variable conditions where there was race strategy involved is really important. It comes with practice, and it comes with trying different types of compounds during practice as well. Try the hard, try the medium, try the soft. Try it on a green track, try it when the tracks rub it in. Try the hard on a high fuel load, try the hard on a low fuel load, okay? So just get familiar with that, because come race day and you'll be placed in a situation where you have to make a choice, you'll refer back to the homework that you did on Friday and you'll have a better understanding of your race strategy. Number 10, consistency. I'm not talking about consistency lap on lap on lap, although that does help. I'm talking about consistency across a season. If you're that driver that's always there, you're there on the street circuits, you're there in the rain, you're there in the technical corners, you're there when the car's good, and you're there when the car's not good. And on your on days, you're great. And on your off days, you're scoring podiums as well. So that is consistency. Consistency means putting together a championship, putting together a season, and always ticking those boxes and really not making mistakes either. So no lockups, no spins, no bad strategies, no bad starts, great racecraft, all of the things that are in like my professionals course, you put all of those together and you pretty much have to, unfortunately, go from human to machine. Okay. You just need to be able to execute every weekend, regardless of how much sleep you get, regardless of whether you like the track or not. Consistently delivering points and delivering results for your team is what all of the great drivers do. Think about Lewis Hamilton in 2007, his first ever season. He was always there, podium, 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 podium. And it meant at the end of the year, he was in the best position to win that championship. Okay. So consistency is extremely important. So there you go, guys. There are the 10 tips that great racing drivers have as qualities. If you have any questions, drop them below in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them for you. And please subscribe to this channel for more racing tips and updates. I hope that video helps you and I'll see you in the next one.